Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Maryland Apex Accelerator webinar. Glad you could join us today. I'm your host, Yasmin Razak. I'm the Marketing and Training Coordinator here. Today, the topic is strategies for teaming, partnering, and subcontracting. And it is led by Keisha Foster, who is the founder of Key to Life Professional Services, LLC. We'll get started very shortly, and there will be opportunities for you to ask Keisha your questions by typing them in the chat box on your screen. And we will pause for Q&A throughout the presentation. And we will also have a 5-minute break at the top of the hour. As always, a copy of the slides will be sent to you after the webinar. And this is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel. Okay, good morning, Keisha. How are you today?
Good morning, Yasmin, and welcome everyone to our training series. The training series, as always, is going to accompany the notes, and I'm going to always have the notes in the notes section for you because, sometimes it goes a little fast. And I want to ensure that you get a good understanding because remember, this is the basic fundamentals. This is you getting your foundation started, understanding what a new small business is supposed to be, what right looks like, if you will. And if you're starting in government contracting sector, you have to learn the basic fundamentals. So this webinar is part of the series. We've been going over janitorial services for this entire series for this year. Our goal is next year to have a different theme, but each time you'll have different themes and training, so that way you'll have real life scenarios, so you'll have them. And then also remember, we always have all our recordings on the Maryland Apex Accelerator YouTube channel. And so the training we had this year was the how to read and understand a federal, state, local solicitation, how to find a bid on 25K or less, and that was the simplified acquisitions. Then we had an introduction to proposal writing, level 1. Then we have the proposal writing level 2. So we're diving a little bit deeper, helping you build your teams. So have your team look at this training, have everyone understand the basic fundamentals, and then you can the learning curve is so much better. Then you can move faster and stronger. Then we had the cost proposal development, because most of our new small businesses do not know how to do their costs when you're just getting started. So we had to dive deep in that. Then now you won that contract administration. How do we keep the contract? I've seen so many small business win the contract and then they lose it. So these are some of the important, and today, our final class of the year, teaming, partner strategies and subcontracting strategies. So these classes are designed to build upon each concept in subsequent levels to deepen your knowledge and enhance your understanding on how to conduct business in the government contracting sector. Because teaming and subcontracting are critical strategies for small businesses to access a larger contract awards and to grow. How do you expect to scale? How do you make 500K? How do you get to 1 million, 2 million? You have to learn the rules of the game, because once you learn the rules of the game, then you know how to play. And then you can take those different trainings that you learn and keep adding to it. Okay. So always, if you have your notes, make sure you take your notes. That way, when you get in your training session with your counselors, because we know how the counselors is so many small business wanting to get the Apex Accelerators help, and the wait list can be very long, but there are things you can do while you're waiting. And that's why I recommend you keep your professional development training for yourself as the CEO and your team. So I always want you, and then make sure you keep them questions in the chat, because every time I get these questions, I implement them in the next training that I give. So that way we're making sure we're covering all of the training for small businesses. We don't know what you need unless you tell us. So when you tell us those questions, we use those in your training sessions. We use those in the training videos. And that way you have a well-rounded training. Okay. And so in today's training, I'm be going back and forth a little bit. So I'm your instructor, Akeisha Foster, President and CEO. I've been doing GovContract 22 years. I started off in logistics and then I moved over to acquisition. So I'm a GovCon coach for some federal. I'm a proposal consultant for J Solution. I'm a former contracting officer / specialist, a former Apex accelerator counselor. So I know what it takes to win. And then my clients have won over 8 million in federal and state contracts and subcontracts. And recently retired Sergeant Major I've done Command Sergeant Major, I've done them all. And I've learned a lot out here in the government sector. So I can really assist you on this journey. And if you want to, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I put my information in the bio, in the notes section. My bio's in there, everything's in there. So just feel free to connect. Okay, let's keep it moving. So let's walk through the agenda for this session. All right. In this session, we're going to focus on strategies, okay, for teaming and subcontracting agreements. All right. We're going to keep it very basic for the first session because you have to learn the basic fundamentals first. Understanding teaming and subcontracting. What's the difference? Different types of teaming agreements. Learning the basic practices for forming effective partnerships, then navigating those practical steps to identify and secure teaming opportunities. Then we have that practical exercise and of course, Q&A. So like I said, you will get a copy of the slides with the notes in the notes section and the handout that we're going to go over in the training. And be sure to take those notes and put those questions in the chat. This helps to improve the training. All right, now let's take our poll. What is your biggest challenge in forming teaming or subcontracting agreements? Is it identifying potential teaming partners? Is it negotiating terms and clauses? Building the trust and relationships? Or maybe it's just ensuring compliance with legal and contractor requirements. It's important to understand where you are having those challenges. And I also recommend that you attend our trainings because we have good lawyers coming in who's very familiar with those the teaming agreements and subcontracting agreements, what should be in those teaming and subcontracting agreements. But this right now is training you how and why the importance of having those agreements. But definitely you have to get you a lawyer. It's the key people that need to be on your team. You need to have that lawyer. You need to have your bookkeeper. You need to have your tax preparer. It's certain roles that you should have people fulfilling on your team, because as the CEO, you have to manage already wearing multiple hats. So it's important to have these people on your team. Okay, so far we look like it's mostly just identifying. We have 79% just identifying potential team and partners. That is one of the main reasons. And I guess because it's not being taught much on, okay, yes, we tell you it's good to have a teaming agreement, but we're not teaching you how to find those team and partners. So definitely that looks like a class we definitely need to add to our database, having one of those training series in there talking about how to identify those. And because that's going to take an hour to 2 hours by itself, just identifying those potential team and partners, because it's just like anything, building relationship. Okay, so that's it for us. We had 79% identifying potential team and partners. Just about 21% of us negotiating terms and clauses. 48% that building trust and the relationship, trust with the relationships. And then 28% of us ensuring compliance with legal and contractor requirements. So definitely you're going to have to get that advisor on your team. Okay. All right. And so I'll be going back and forth looking at the websites, because I want you to understand where all this information is. Because like I told you, we tell you why it's important, but you need to know where to get that information from. You know, it's what is a team and agreement? It's a formal agreement between two or more businesses to pursue a specific contract opportunity together. So one example, I just put a brief example on there, a veteran-owned small business teaming with a large prime contractor to fulfill complementary services. So to dive deeper, right? It's a collaboration, it's a collaborative nature. And why is it a common strategy used in government contracting? It's because you have so many small businesses out here just getting started, and they don't have the team. They don't have the capability, and how else will you get started but by teaming? Okay, so say the situation is, the reason why it's really most beneficial is when one company lacks the full range of capabilities required for a contract. So this contract needs you to provide a service that you do not have. So that's why it's important that you start developing a teaming database, if you will. So that way, different parts, and we'll talk about that more as we go on. Then when a contract scope is just too large or complex for a single company to manage, and that's just like that contract, the NASA suit, that contract is massive. You're supporting many agencies across worldwide. A small business can't do that. So that's why it's important to know the different teaming strategies and where you fit in. How do you market your services to these large and prime contracting businesses if you don't know why the team and agreement and what it is for? It is for that single company who the scope of work is just too large. I can't do this. But we don't want you to give up on not doing it. What we want you to do is learn how to team, how to offer your service to prime, and not just calling prime contractors, hey, I want to be a part of your team. Okay, well, why do you want to be a part of my team? What service are you going to, well, I've had this so many times and heard it so many times. Well, I can do anything. No, you can't. You don't have the certifications. You don't have the licensing. You don't have the experience that the government is looking for. They want 2 to 3 to 4, 5 years of that specialty, proven that you have done it before. Because if you've done it before, then you know the matrix, you know the measurements, you know what's required, you know all the things that entail that a specific expertise. So that's why it's important that you understand the reason for the teaming agreement. It's for a reason. It's one of your strategies you use to win more contracts because you do not have all of those services. Okay, so let's move on. What is a subcontracting agreement? Okay. Now, the subcontracting agreement, an agreement defining the roles and responsibilities of a subcontractor under the prime contractor's lead. So understanding that the prime contractor is the lead, that is who you are reporting to, not that agency. So if you were going after the Department of Defense and you work for a prime contractor, you will not be reaching out to the Department of Defense, the DOD. You will be reaching out to your prime contractor lead, and then they will give you the information. Now, in certain cases, you will be dealing directly with the prime contractor's lead. So if you were in fields like contracting, I had to reach out directly to the contractor, but I always kept my prime contractor in the loop, right? Because that's how you keep them from not thinking you're trying to undermine them, go around them, take the work or anything. That you want to make sure that you're taking very careful of how you build in this relationship if you want it to be long term, because if they find out they can't trust you to work for them, then they won't renew your contract. So we definitely want our contracts to be renewed. Okay, so now this is just a hierarchical, that the relationship is between the prime contractor and the subcontractor, right? So the prime contractor is the lead and the subcontractor works for the prime. So you'll be getting paid by the prime. You will be falling, and some of the clauses flow down from the prime because you work for them, providing a service to that agency. So many times I look at people's capability statement and it's not reflecting a subcontractor's role. It's reflecting the prime contractor's role. And if you're going to be a subcontractor for that prime, then you have to reflect. We supported the prime contractor, JSC or whoever, as the sub providing what support. You understand what I'm saying? So ensuring that you understand that when you're a subcontractor, you have to reflect that such in your capability statement. I've seen that so many times. Now, subcontracting agreements to teaming agreements, they're a little bit different because subcontracting agreements typically have one party, the subcontractor, in a supporting role. Now, but the difference is teaming agreements, it could be several companies providing different support. So say you have somebody doing IT support, then you needed someone to come in and do the janitorial services. So in this example, I just said a janitorial company providing services under the prime contract, a prime contractor, and they're managing a facility maintenance contract. So facility maintenance contract, they needed a janitorial company in to do the janitorial work. But say they needed someone else in there as to do the IT support because it had those different services that agency was requesting. Then they would bring on a different subcontractor for that role. And it depends on how it's written. So everything is a case-by-case basis on how the contract is written. And that will let you know the difference when you're going to use the subcontracting agreement and when you're going to use the teaming agreement. Now, you definitely want to keep the flexibility with the subcontracting agreement. You know, it provides terms and in the scope, and it's not easy to replace, but it can be easier to replace a subcontractor than it is to replace a prime contractor, because the subcontractor, it depends on how the contract is written. You may have to give them a 60-day notice saying, hey, this subcontractor is not working. So we would like to bring in another subcontractor. And then you're going to have to provide them with that information because the agency wants to know who your subcontractors are. So they will ask for that. And so I always recommend that you have a few in the pipeline, a few subcontractors in the pipeline, because when you're first getting started with these relationships and working with these different agencies, these different companies, you don't know how they work. Are they going to be on time? Do they have customer service? Are they bringing in good contractors who's going to get the work done? And then you find out that this subcontractor has been doing subpar work. Well, you're going to have to replace them, or they're going to get you a bad CPARS on your record, and you don't want that. Your contract performance assessment report, the CPARS. So that's important to understand, making sure you put those different termination clauses. That's why they tell you those flow down clauses and stuff like that. Now, also the subcontracting agreements, you're still going to be held to the same standards as the prime contractor. You must adhere to all the FAR clauses if there's a small business goal. So say in the event that you want to, the subcontracting, so in the event that the subcontractor doesn't perform everything, because I lost my train of thought because there was a lot of things going on, and plus then I was getting comments, so that's why I try not to look at the comments while I'm giving the lesson, so I don't lose my train of thought. But I'm gonna stop real quick before I move on and answer the question, because it was a question popped up right when I was giving my train of thought. I didn't think subs got a CPARS rating. I thought it was only the prime. No, subcontractors will get CPARS rating from time to time, and that's for the ones I believe it's the subcontracting plan, and then also it's a new clause came out that but it won't go into CPARS. So don't misunderstand me. It doesn't go into CPARS. This is if you go out and then you're doing your past performance questionnaire and they ask who you were the prime for, then the prime is obligated. If you're tier one, a subcontracting tier one, that means you're working directly for them, not the sub working for you. So tier one, not tier two. They're starting to give prime subcontractors CPARS reports, but it's just like it, but I don't think they're gonna call it CPARS. But this is what I've, this coming out. So I'm still getting new up on that, but I'm definitely gonna add that to our slides so we can discuss that the CPARS rating for subs, because subs do get it. And because you need it, you need that past performance when you're going after opportunities, when you're ready to grow. All right, so let me stay focused, and then because time goes so fast, and then I'll leave a little bit, I'll take a break and then answer some more questions. Okay, so the different types of teaming agreements. So we talked about it, the prime and subcontractor teaming agreements. Then you got joint ventures. Then you got the GSA prime and subcontractor teaming agreement. But then also, there's two different types with the GSA prime and subcontractor teaming agreements. And then you got the mentor-protégé agreement. So you have so many different types of teaming agreements. And because it's so massive, I wanted to be able to share with you the different the resources that I found for the different types of subcontracting agreements. But before we go, let me go back real quick because I wanted to make sure I don't miss it. I stay right on order. Okay, so the different types. So that's the acquisition FAR part 9.6. So let me go to that for you right here because I want to make sure you understand this. There's regulations you have to know. And make sure you put these in your little notebook, your business success journal, whatever you want to call it. Make sure you're keeping up with your planners and all these documentation, writing notes. These are some of the things you need to be aware of. And because of the time, I just want you to see that there's limitations, all the policies, and different things you need to know about the contractor's qualifications and so forth and so on. So be sure to take time and go through each of these resources that we've provided you in the notes section, because during the teaming agreement, you have to do your due diligence. Okay. It's important you do that. You got to investigate our potential partners, potential teaming partners, because we got to know if they got financial health, they're going to pay us. Are we going to get paid at the end of the day? Because we need to get paid as a subcontractor too, right? The past performance, what past performance they have, so you know what past performance you're going to bring to the table, because they may have the IT services support, but then you have to give the industry, or you are a subject matter expert in the contracting field. So there's different reasons why you need to know, why am I teaming with this company in the first place? Why am I reaching out? Do not reach out unless you know why you're reaching out. You have so many people reaching out to these large, and then guess what happens? They stop taking calls because people are just reaching out and not doing their research. They're not doing the due diligence to see, why am I reaching out? Is it because I need your past performance? And it's a win-win. It's not always, okay, what can you do for me? It's what can I do for you? It's got to be a win-win situation. So that's why I always say you have to read subpart 9.6. contract teaming arrangements. Be very clear with that. And if you have other questions, make sure you ask your counselor too, because sometimes you're going to have general questions. So then we have the joint venture. We have to know, when you're dealing with joint ventures, you're going to be responsible. So let me go back to that because I want to go through all of them while I have it open. So, and then there's some more information on prime and subcontracting with the SBA. I put that link in the note section for you, so you can get a deeper understanding of the prime contracting and subcontracting, the compliance reviews, everything is in here. How you have to report, because as a subcontractor on subcontracting plan, you have to report. And so all that information is in here for you. So definitely make sure you do that. The joint ventures. you have to understand there's a difference with the joint ventures. So I got that information in the chat for you. So I definitely want you to read that information so that way you can understand the importance and key takeaways. It's two businesses. I mean, you're going to have to get another SAM account for that business. It's a lot that goes on with a joint venture. That's our class itself. So that's why I put this information in here for you, so you can look at. And then GSA, because there are different types of subcontracting with the GSA as well. So I put that in there as well. And all of these are in your notes. So please remember, everything is in your notes. So don't get alarmed. It's just so that way you have it back in the video recording, so you remember all the different things, the resources that are available for you and that you should research and really understand. So when you're talking with your counselor, you can. And then also Neil McDonald, I always refer small businesses to watch them. He has a lot of good training for you. He just did one on introduction to the GSA contracting team and agreements for those who have a GSA schedule. So this training is for you. Then there's the GSA. They have their own training for contracting team and agreement. And these are the ones with the GSA schedule. So that's why I'm just giving you a basic overview, and you go back and you research these videos. And then the mentor-protégé. So all these different, the protégé, always look at those frequently asked questions to see if you've met the criteria. Then all your information, it tells you where the portal is. So you have, this is the DODs, but then you have the SBAs as well. So all of these resources are available to you for free. Start researching them, so you know exactly what the clear defined deliverables are, the terms of conditions for whichever subcontracting or whichever team and agreement you decide is best for your company. So I wanted you to be able to see all of those different things. So that's why you'll understand the importance of really understanding what type of team and agreement that your business can do. So say, for instance, you only want to do subcontracting, right? Then you're going to focus on only things dealing with subcontracting, not a joint venture. But if you like the mentor-protégé, then look at those eligibility requirements on that and see if that's for you. Because not everybody wants to be a prime. Some small businesses just want to have their own business, have that flexibility, support the prime contract, and then stay in their subject matter expertise, because they have a specialized expertise and they don't feel the need to want to build a complete business doing IT services, providing janitorial, or maybe you only want to do contract, because that was me. I only wanted to do training and contracting because that's my whole career has been contracting. My whole career has been logistics, purchasing. My whole career has been training. As a senior leader, our requirement is to train, mentor, and lead. So it was natural progression for me to want to start a business and helping others to do what I know to do, and have been doing it for years. So it is very important that you take a proactive and consistent approach to these practices, to the due diligence, to understanding which team and agreement is best for your company. It's always going to be a case-by-case basis, because every company is built different, provide different services, different core services, and you're good at certain things. Okay, now we're going to do a recap. So now we're going to dive deeper into the prime contracting team and agreement, right? This is a temporary contract between a prime contractor and a subcontractor to work together on a federal contract. So now the purpose, this agreement allows the company to combine their resources and expertise to win contracts. Now the structure, the prime contractor, as we said earlier, is usually the lead company, and the subcontractor provides additional support. So you're there to provide additional support. Now, the benefits of this team and agreement can help companies meet the government's requirement, because you want to win this contract, but you got to meet all of the requirements. It enhances the capabilities and your experience, because you're combining your experiences together. So that way you can win more contracts. And then protect the confidentiality and the proprietary information. It's important to be very mindful of who you're sharing the information with. Be very mindful that you can be sued if you breach the contract and all these other things of that nature. So you definitely want to be mindful of that. And then the terms. The agreement usually includes the roles and responsibilities of each party, the scope of work, the pricing, terms and conditions of the subcontract, and whether the agreement requires the award of subcontract if the prime contractor is awarded a contract. So in this specific example, I wanted to talk about a scenario. So basically, the example is, okay, so the agency needed an acquisition subject matter expert, a SME, but they also needed a process improvement expert, SME, right? So what the prime contractor capability? So the prime contractor's capability, they have experience in business process improvement, but lacks the acquisition experience required to meet the contract requirements. Okay, so what's the solution? Okay, and that's how you're going to think of everything. The agency need, the prime contractor's capability, what can they deliver? And then the solution, what solution do I provide as the subcontractor? But if you're the prime contractor, what was this subcontractor provide for me? So the solution, the prime contractor teams with a subcontractor who specialize in acquisition, right? The SME, and then the services to fulfill that requirement. So what's the outcome? The outcome is the teaming agreement allows the prime contractor to bid on an opportunity while leveraging the subcontractor's specialized skills to meet the agency's need. So that is how you would utilize the subcontractors. See, you're utilizing their expertise, their certifications, and their experience. So in that case, then you're going to make sure you get all that information from that subcontractor, because you're going to have to submit that with the proposal. So that's why it's important to highlight that. So now the agent requirement for both the acquisition and the business process expertise, you couldn't get away around it. There was no way around it. So that meant you had to have some people in your database. So I always tell my small businesses, hey, do you have a team and database? And then in that team database, it's important that you track, okay, what is their expertise and so forth and so on. And we'll talk about that more as we proceed in the training. And then when you highlight, so the prime contractor already has strong capabilities in business process improvement, but they just didn't have the necessary skills and expertise to qualify for that opportunity. So they wouldn't have won. And they're competing against other small businesses who have that expertise. So that's why it's important to know when to bring a subcontractor on, because you need that expertise. Now, the subcontractor proven experience is the reason why they probably won their contract, because they had a person who had over 22 years or 30 years or 16 years, and then they have their 16, 20, 30 years in business process improvement. That made them very what was that? It made them very had the expertise to win this contract. So that's why it's important to understand when to subcontract. Now, clearly define the roles of the teaming agreement is important. So the subcontractor will provide all acquisition deliverables, and then the process improvement person. So these are the things you're going to walk through when you're writing out, getting prepared to do teaming agreements and subcontracting agreement. You have to walk through these scenarios, and why are you bringing them on? If there's no need to bring them on, why are you? Because now you're going to compensate them. You're going to have to make sure you're paying them. It's a lot of things that goes in play. And then the prime contractor will have to be responsible for doing the overall business process solution for that agency. So then that means the subcontractor has to provide all of those deliverables to the prime contractor, so the prime contractor can provide those deliverables. So these are all the things you got to think about when you're doing your subcontracting and teaming agreement. So now let's just talk about the benefits. So the benefits is the prime contractor meets the age requirement and it strengthens their proposal. The subcontractor gains past performance under the prime. So now you done gained your past performance as the subcontractor under the prime contractor's contract. So that's opening the doors for future opportunities. So then you're going to want that prime contractor to give you a CPARS rating. You know, it may not go in the system, but you can utilize that CPARS too. But as we see, they're changing a lot for small businesses and for the subcontractors tier 1. So I'm going to wait to see what's coming out, and I'm going to keep checking on that and finding out how they're going to do the past performance for the subcontractors. But it's good to have it. So when you're going after opportunity, you're going to put that past performance in your proposal. Then it reinforces the value of networking, right? Networking, building relationship building, and doing your due diligence, and then finding the right team and partners. Say you did a good job on this opportunity, then y'all can go after future opportunities together. Then you'll have to do a team agreement for that contract, because this one was for that specific contract award. Then you'll have to do another one for the new contract, that if you decide to team with that other individual. Okay, so this is the one that's mostly used, is the prime and subcontractor teaming agreement. This one is mostly used because it's to me, it is the most easiest to implement. It's the most easiest to build those relationships with, because once you get that first contract and y'all worked well together, it's so much easier getting the second contract. But the important thing is get the first contract. And how you get the first contract is implementing those strategies. It's implementing and taking your time and the purpose. Okay, the agency needs what? And then who are we going to get to do what? Okay, I'm going to do this because I'm good at it and I have the past performance, but I need somebody to do this. And do I have someone in my team and database to do that? So these are some of the things that you have to think about when you're starting in working with teaming agreements, because when you get all this ready, then you're ready to go speak to your SME, your lawyer, talk to them, because they're coming for you. They $750 an hour, $3,000 retainers. I mean, it's expensive. So you want to be and did all your work and research before you go reaching out them subject matter experts, because they've went to law school, they've done all of the hard work, and they're the subject matter expert in their area expertise. So you're paying for that expertise to ensure that you are. I always recommend you at least get the first one, the first teaming agreement looked at by your JAG, your lawyers, whoever, those lawyers that you found. Do your due diligence, go out and research them, see how they've helped other small business. Attend those industry days that have those lawyers who come in and tell you what their services are. And then that's how you know. So that way you save so much time and so much money. Okay, so let me pause real quick at the top of the hour, so I make sure I answered all questions before I get to the next one. Yes, ma'am, we have any questions that I missed?
Hi, Keisha. Let's have a look here.
Okay.
Did you answer the one about past performance?
Yes, but
Yes.
the subcontractor's past performance, yes.
Yeah. No, I think you've pretty much tackled all of them. So if you do have a question for Keisha, do type that in your chat box.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good deal. Okay, so now let's move on to the joint venture. Now, the joint venture, a contractual agreement between two or more businesses or people to work together to achieve a specific goal. Joint ventures can be structured as separate business entity. Now, remember, that's a separate business entity, so that means it's going to need a separate SAMs, a separate. It's a lot going on to the joint venture. So that is not my area of expertise, because it's too complicated. There's a lot of stuff going on with the joint venture. You definitely will need your lawyer, because it's a lot involved with this one. And they are typically temporary and dissolve after the goal is accomplished. Because it's just another method of gaining that past performance. It gives you access to new markets. So joint ventures can help business enter new markets, distribute networks. I mean, it's so much you can do with a joint venture, but it's a lot of work. It's very complex. You share costs and risks. Your businesses can share the cost, the risk of the venture, and so you getting the liabilities, right? And then, but it also gives you the access to new resources. So JVs can provide access to new resources such as technology, the finance, specialized staff. So it is important to understand, but some of the potential drawbacks of a joint venture is you're putting two new businesses together. So the culture clashes. Okay, maybe this person is very lenient in their business. They allow their employees or subcontractors all telework. It's those different. Then it's unequal involvement. So then you're going to have the lead person. So it's very difficult with a joint venture. So if you're ready and you've established your business very well, and you feel like a joint venture is well, and it can be very good for you because you have that subject matter on your team, and then they're going to do all the work, and you can focus on being the CEO of your business, then all by means, go ahead. But then also make sure you understand with a joint venture, there is so much need for clear communication and planning, because you have two, maybe three businesses doing their own thing, having their own objectives, their own mission, their own goals, their own target goals. So a joint venture is basically another company. You done put all these companies together to make another company, so that company to have its mission, that that JV needs to have its goals, its target revenue. Okay, this company has to make 1 million, this company has to make 1 million, this one has to make, this is our goal, the collective goal. It has to be a collective goal with a joint venture. That one right there, it takes a lot of work, and I've heard a lot of good stories and bad stories. So it's important that you understand the different nuances of that. Now let's move on to GS. So remember, I want to go back. Let me go back. I apologize. Let me go back. Remember the joint venture. Really read on the joint venture. Really go through it, understanding the different things of the. I apologize. The different things of the joint venture and why it's so important, because they have a lot of good information. How to set up a joint venture, the pros and cons, talking about paying those taxes. Okay, and then they give you so many good examples. So be sure to check out these resources, and I put them in the link for you. Remember, check out the link. And then I believe we have some more training. I'm not sure if we have any training on our channel, but it's plenty of training out here. But the key takeaways for it is, in a joint venture, 2 or more businesses decide to combine their resources in order to fulfill that goal, right? Then it's they use them for the sense of the word. They say they are a partnership in the sense of the word, but can take on legal structure. I mean, it's just a lot going on with a joint venture. So I'm not going to even go too deep in that, because I'm going to just mess it up because it's so much that goes involved. And then just understanding how to leverage it, how to reduce your costs. They got a lot of information in here for you on that, and the advantages, disadvantages. And I just wanted you to be aware of what's involved. And then they put a couple of examples in there. So please check that out. Okay, so let me keep going. Okay, now the GSA prime and sub versus the CTA, the contractor team agreement. The differences between that is basically, are you going in the GSA schedule looking for prime contractors who need a subcontractor? Or do you both have a GSA schedule and you're trying to combine your expertise? And that's why and that's an hour to 2 hour class itself. So that's why I made sure that I put the training videos in there for you to go back and research which is better for you, the subcontracting or the contractor team and agreement. But if you do not have a GSA schedule, then we already know the contractor team and agreement is not for you. You need to focus on this. And then you take all your notes, you research everything there is for subcontracting to a prime on the GSA schedule. What are the requirements? What do most primes ask for you to be one of their subcontractors, and so forth and so on. And because that's an hour to 2 hour class right there. I've given you those resources for that. Make sure you look at it. Look at all the resources they have available, understanding the difference, and then that will help you to make your business decision. And then they also have downloadable files, everything else in here. So you can always download the information. They may even, because they used to have the directory where you can go in there and look for prime information for the directory. So if it's still available, because sometimes it's available, sometimes it's down, you just keep checking back and then doing your due diligence, because you can always have somebody on your team to do that, have your assistant or anything like that. So it's a wealth of information on here, and you just keep going down. But I do want you to go visit these different live sessions. Make sure you're signing up for the different trainings on, if you have a GSA schedule. Both of you have a GSA schedule, then of course, like I said, it's the CTA. But if you do not, then you need to focus on subcontracting. That is your strategy. And then the last video for that one, this one is only for the GSA schedule people holders. And GSA has a lot of information, and they do it normally weekly. So definitely go and check that out. Sign up for all their training that they have, so that way you could stay abreast of the different changes, updates, regulations, and so forth and so on. Okay, now let's talk about the mentor-protégé agreement. All right, so the two that we're talking about today is DOD and the SBA. Now, there are so many of them out there. I think I can't remember if it's 12, 11, it's 13. It's so many different ones out there. But today's training is only talking about two, because I believe in doing everything in small doses, is so not to overwhelm. You're brand new to this business. Let's focus on the things that we know is easier, because it's already hard in government contracting. So we want to focus on things that are easier for small business to get started. So the purpose of the mentor-protégé is to foster small business growth through mentorship by established firms. If they are not established firms, it won't do any of you any good to try to get into a mentor-protégé program, because you need an established firm. But then also you want to get a firm who's willing to train and teach and mentor. Have they created a plan, a schedule? Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to meet monthly or quarterly or weekly or bi-weekly. Find out where you're struggling. What are you doing? So have that in writing, because they're going to tell you exactly what needs to be done, because you want to get the benefit out of it, because the program is limited. I can't remember if it was 2 years, 3 years, 2 times. It's because it changes. Everything changes. That's why I always believe in look at the requirements, write the eligibilities down, and everything that you need. So say you trying to go after, I'm in contracting. Everything I'm doing is trying to go to other small businesses, the mentors, so that way I could get my goal. I want to be subcontractor. I'll do training, teaching, mentor, internship. I'll do whatever. But that is the goal. So you have to know, if I'm IT, I'm looking for mentors who's going to train me in IT. But then you can't compete against them. You have to complement them. So what part of their service that you're not competing with them, you're complementing them. So that's the difference because a lot of people won't do it because they feel like you're their competition. So how do you not be their competition? That is the key. How do we not be the competition? So the next thing, all right, the mentor-protégé structure allows the small business to qualify for opportunities that you would never qualify for. You couldn't do it independently. You needed that mentor, and it allowed you. And then that way you can, if you have questions or you need to talk to them about it. So it's like a relationship. Now you done married this person. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be working with them all this time. So you definitely want to vet them. You want to make sure, okay, we can do this. Have you worked with them before you go putting a mentor-protégé program in place? So I believe you should work with them first to see if you like them. Work for them about a year or two, and then, okay, yeah, this was a good fit. Now let's go put this mentor-protégé agreement together, because once you're stuck with them, and then how miserable is it? You trying to get information from them. They won't answer your emails. They don't give you updates. They don't let you know what's going on. You're having an issue with your prime at the job that you just won, this contract award you just won, and they won't even help you walk through it, and then just left you to your devices. You know what I'm saying? So you want to definitely figure out, is this a good fit? All right. So now how the mentor-protégé program benefits you, okay? For the protégé, all right, you get access to expertise, right? You get those certifications, those resources. But I'm telling you, have to vet. It's just like going picking your college, right? I don't want to go to this college because they don't even have the program that I offer. They're not going to train me. The teachers are they're not as good. I mean, you have to do it just like this is a business decision you're making for your company. So you don't just go on this haphazardly. You have to take your time and go through this and have a checklist. I believe in checklists for everything. And that way you see, oh, I missed this question last time, so let me add this question. And you're constantly adding things to make the program better, you know, so that way you don't never miss anything. So that's what I want to make sure you understand right there. And then the opportunity to build a track record in federal contracting. So now this is giving you an opportunity to build your track record. Okay, now for the mentor, because remember, it's a win. It got to be a win-win. Ability to meet their subcontracting goals. So I'm recommending that you're looking for people who are trying to meet their subcontracting goals for the mentor. Okay, hey, the Veteran Affairs have a subcontracting goal. Help, I meet this. You didn't already screen them. You already know this is a good fit, and it's going to help meet the goals for you and the mentor. And it's strengthening position in the federal market through small business partnerships. So the agency sees that you are in the business of helping small businesses, and that looks good. You know, that looks good to have a different program to help with that. And then key points. I want to talk about some key points. The mentor-protégé relationship must be formalized. It must be formalized through a structured agreement reviewed by the SBA. So this one is reviewed by the SBA or your relevant agency. Mentors cannot dominate the protégé's business decisions. The agreement should focus on capacity building, basically. They're just trying to be there for your support. So we want to make sure we understand that they're there for the support. And then we want to also talk about proper planning and clear roles in the agreement are critical. So those are some of the things that you have to make sure that you are addressing the protégé program. All right. So, and I want to go back to those resources for that one. Also, make sure you go through the frequently asked questions, because they'll tell you. So like this one, what are the requirements a mentor firm must meet prior to applying for participation in the program, in the mentor-protégé program? And then it'll tell you a mentor firm must have at least one active subcontracting plan and be eligible for federal contracts. So that's why I said, take your time, go through the program, write notes, look at all the frequently asked questions. It tells you everything. It tells you it tells you all your eligibility, how to participate, and so forth and so on. And the SBA has the same thing. So this is the DOD, and this one is the SBA. That tells you they're trying to do stuff to improve their program too. So you just go in there and read the different things that's here in the program. Okay, so let me go back to the slides because I don't want to run out of our time. Okay, benefits of the teaming agreement. Basically, provide flexibility for adapting to contracts, the changing needs or circumstances. Ability to access larger contracts, right? The benefits of teaming, sharing resources and expertise to meet set-asides of social economical goals, the woman-owned small business, the AAs, the veteran-owned small business, and to build past performance. The main objective is to build that past performance. All right, teaming can be also a stepping stone for small businesses to gain that past performance. Don't sleep on subcontracting and teaming agreements, because that gives you access to things you would normally not be qualified for. Now, let's talk about the common issues with teaming agreements. You have to renegotiate. It's risk in that. You got to renegotiate because they might change the rules on you. You just never know. Then the circumvent a solicitation or employer subcontractors. They could bypass you to gain insiders knowledge. I mean, that's some of the risk you take. And then the importance of clear circumvention clauses. Making sure you got those clauses in there, clearly defining the rules, responsibilities, helping to mitigate some of those risks. And best practices, okay, for subcontracting. So we always believe in the best practices, okay? Make sure you register on the Prime Contractors website if they have it. And then research contracts in FPDS or USA Spending .gov. They have, but most people use the FPDS, but you can also use usaspending.gov. Okay, attend those matchmaking events and industry events so that way you can kind of meet them in person and see how they are. Use LinkedIn and use govevents.com and then engage with your small business liaison officer because it's important. Registering for those different events is really going to be key. Okay, so you definitely have to do that. Okay, common clauses in the teaming agreements. All right, so common clauses you're going to see in the teaming agreement is confidentiality, those provisions, exclusivity clauses, intellectual property, the non-circumvention, the termination, and it's going to be so many more. But just so you can understand, just keep writing them down and make sure you understand what they are. Then you can have a specific clause in there talking about each party's going to contribute to the proposal. It's so many different clauses for the different types of contracts. So it's important to understand that. And then the breakdown, the roles and responsibilities is going to be in there. The period of performance. Okay, how long is this for? Then because you have to understand the payment terms, that's going to be in there. The non-solicitation of employees, all those different things will be in the contract clauses. So you definitely have to make sure you're aware of that. And then as we get ready to close for the first part of the session, I want to talk about the resources. So because I have so many small business always wanting to have the resources, so I always give them a recommendation. So I recommend you read chapter 12, teaming and partnering. It talks about the first versus the second tier sub. It talks about the team and database, how to market your company. It's a wealth of information there. It's worth reading. He's going to talk about the methodologies. I use this with all my coaching clients. That's one of the requirements. If you're going to be one of my coaching clients, you have to have the book, because when I'm talking to you, I need you to understand the basic fundamentals. I need you to understand what is a first tier sub versus a second tier tub. Then a team and database. How do you market your company to that team and agency? It's important that you understand those things. So that's why it's always a requirement. If you want to be one of my coach clients, you have to learn. How are you tracking your team and database? Okay. How are you meeting with those large companies? You understand what I'm saying? And then the importance of introducing yourself. And then in the book, it has examples and it teaches you how to do that. It gives you email template. It gives you everything in the book. So that's why you need something. You got to start somewhere, and then you can customize it for you and that different company that you're reaching out to on the different, later. But right now you need somewhere to start. And right now you need to start building your database. So then you'll see as you grow in the business, you'll see, oh, I don't like this method. I want to change it to this. And then the conclusion and key takeaways for the instructional portion before we get into the practical. Relationships matter. You have to build trust and deliver value. If you're not building trust and you're not delivering value, they're not going to work with you again. Lead with your core capabilities. I'm a SME. I'm a SME at acquisition. Don't lead with your certification. Lead with your core capabilities. And then your certifications. Are you a veteran-owned small business? Are you a contracting professional? Do we a level 3 certified? And then planning is key. How are these certifications going to open up more opportunities for you? What certifications do you need to open up more opportunities for you? Because if they don't feel like you're going to bring value, they're not going to work with you. That's just the way it is. And that's important to understand, that you have to bring value and then they will work with you. And I believe that is it. And we're going to be going to our practical exercise. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our break for 5 minutes and then be back for the practical exercise.
Okay, thanks, Akeisha. See everyone back in 5 minutes.
Back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Okay, so let's talk about our scenario. Okay, so in this practical exercise, I want to talk about, through this series, we've been talking about a janitorial company. Now, this janitorial company decided they wanted to team with a facility management firm, and they wanted to bid on an opportunity worth $500,000. Well, they have never done it before. So, and it was a federal building and it was a maintenance contract. So in that role, so we already know that the janitorial company has never done anything, a project of that magnitude. And so they wanted to use this as an opportunity to introduce themselves to these different companies, right? So we already know that they've been in business. So let's say they've been in business for 5 years. And so they're going to introduce themselves to this facility management firm. So this is important. Oh, this is the reason why you need to know why you're introducing to your firm, because this is the opportunity you're bringing to that agency, right? So you're bringing this opportunity to this prime contractor saying, hey, we're if you're not going after this, because you got to make sure they're not going after this opportunity as well, because how about they're going after the opportunity? So that's why you have to start building those relationships. And then that's when you're going to get into those non-disclosures, hey, I want to disclose something to you, so then you got to do those NDAs, but that's a different training. That's another day. So just remember, you need to put that on there. I need to research non-disclosures. And when do we use the non-disclosure? Okay. So then what other role will you take? So I want to be the subcontractor. Do you want to be the prime? So then you have to establish, do I want to be the subcontractor or the prime? So then let's pull up the handout number 1, the teaming agreement. Okay, the date, the company, all that. You haven't even got to this phase yet. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why it's important to understand, when do you get to this phase? Okay, then are we establishes pre-award, post-award, before the award or after the award. We always recommend our clients that you do it before the award, so things don't change after the award, okay? Because they used your name to get the contract, but then once they got the contract, now you're not using, they put another subcontractor on that teaming agreement. So it's important to do it pre-award, but I've seen it done post-award as well. But ideally, you want to do it pre-award. You want to do it before the opportunity even been identified. You want to do it when it's a source of sought notice, or you want to do it when it's a procurement forecast. You identify this opportunity months in advance. Or even a year or 2 in advance, and hey, this opportunity looks good for our company. I believe it will do a lot for our company to win this opportunity. So now you understand the thinking behind the teaming agreement. I've seen this on a procurement forecast, or I've seen this opportunity on the source of sought notice. So I've been following it. Remember, you've been tracking it. You've developed relationships with these agencies. So you're going to bring value to that prime contractor, or as the prime, you already have all that. All you need is somebody to come and do this work for you. You understand what I'm saying? So understanding the importance of when and why to use the teaming agreement, and when should you get started early as possible, because then you can have some meetings with the small businesses. You can talk to the lot, because maybe you want to work with a large prime, but I always recommend, if you small, start with a small. because you have more commonality. You'll work with each other more. With large, they can have anybody. It's just like a rich person. They don't want a poor person as a date. They want somebody that got something that they got. You understand what I'm saying? They want somebody to have the same but similar, not so much, but they got to have something, some skin in the game. So always start. That's why, because I have a lot of small business, they'll start with the largest. I want to work with GDID. I'm like, okay, so how many contracts you get? How many subcontracts you get? They have nothing. Well, they're extremely large. Do you think you're going to even get in the door? You have gatekeepers everywhere. You understand what I'm saying? So it's important to understand who your match is. It's kind of like sticking with your match, and then growing, and I see it every day. And then they're beating themselves up because they're not winning any contracts. They're not being able to do any teaming agreements because you have not matched yourself with someone same or similar or just a little bit more above you. You understand? If you ain't never won a contract, but you going to $100 million company, come on. You're doing above your means. So that's why, and it was so much I wanted to discuss in the instructional, but I had to give you the basic fundamentals. But that's why you need the coaching, the different counselors and the different, because they'll talk to you about the things, because I've been there, done that. You understand? And I know some of the nuances of how to build the relationships, and not just I see small business just running after everybody. And then now they're discouraged. They quit. They closed their contracting business down and they've moved on. But had they known, okay, it goes in this order. You start in kindergarten, then you go to first grade, then you go to second grade, third grade, fourth grade. You take your time. And then before you know it, you're a senior. Then next thing you know, you're a college graduate. You done got your, and then next, you got your master's and then your doctorate. I'm good at this. I got it. I'm winning contracts. I've been doing this. I know what I'm doing. So everything is like that. And then also in this scenario, we're talking about, okay, how is the payment going to be structured? Will you be getting paid bi-weekly? Will you be getting paid monthly? Understanding. And then the risk. You got to understand the risk. What all risks are so having break it all down, having a well-drafted team agreement should look like, all that, the scenario, the breakdown, and the walkthrough is also that you have a team agreement that you feel confident in. Now, many times they say the team and agreement doesn't have any teeth, but to me, it's on paper. It's in writing. This is what you said you were going to do. This is what I said I'm going to do. So now you can play the games and nuance, but then do you really want to work with that partner again? Understanding that if you can't abide by the team agreement that we've agreed upon, then I'm not going after anything else with you. Why would I? So let me take this off. Okay, so we can go over it. Okay, so the team and agreement. All right, it's agreement made between on what date by the company name, and then the prime contractor, where you're located, and then the subcontractor, right? It's basically just a basic template, right? Then witness, whereas support and other services related to the capabilities of the subcontractor will be performed. I've seen people put annexes in there. I've seen the annex. This is just a basic general one, but I want to talk to you about the different ways to ensure that you're taken care of, and make sure you understand that the importance of having a well-drafted team and agreement can save you a lot of headaches. All right. So what service is going to be performed? Should a contract award be made to the prime through prime's business development efforts for what requirement? So what requirement? The opportunity. And then, after all, they're going to just call it a project, because, that's what we do, call everything's a project after that. So I always recommend that you put an appendix in there. You can look up different team and agreements online. And then once you have one that you want to use, then get your subject matter expert, the lawyer or your person that can really review it for you and make sure you didn't miss it. You want a person who's been dealing with contracting, who's worked with subcontractors before, who, have that experience. I mean, if they don't have a lot of experience, then you take that risk. It's just like anything. You're going to take that risk and you don't want to um, damage your business. So that's why I always say, have that lawyer look it over so you make sure you know. So some teaming agreements also have percentages in there. You're going to do percentage of the work. I meant to pull up before this training session a subcontracting plan so you can understand what a subcontracting plan looks like, but I wasn't able to get that. But I want you to go look up a subcontracting plan. You could just Google it and kind of see what's involved in that, because that's the one that is required in that they have a subcontracting agreement in place. And so the more established businesses who's been doing business for over 5 years or 4 years, whatever the past performance is, then you could reach out to potential prime contractors that are looking for subcontractors to go on the subcontracting plan, but they're looking for established business. So if you're brand new in this space, I recommend so you don't get all upset and just discouraged and not want to continue to move forward, is to get some experience. It's go out there and get those small simplified acquisition purchases, and then or go team with other small business after small buys, a simplified acquisition portfolio. Build your portfolio with small opportunities and then scale up. But if you have no opportunities but you want to be on a subcontractor plan, they're not having it, because I've seen Booz Allen Hamilton as a subcontractor. I've seen just came by the Boeing just bought added a subcontractor, Spirit, as a subcontractor. So you see, we're competing with large people, large businesses, large organizations for subcontracting opportunities. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why it's so important to figure out, put the strategy together. And many times people slip on that business plan, but in that business plan, you're talking about how I'm going to run my business, what model I'm going to use, how I'm going to do about things, and reviewing it annually. And that will help you when you're going at building your team and agreements. Okay, what should be implemented? Okay, what appendix should I put in here? Because normally they attach the contract to the team and agreement, some semblance of a contract until the contract is awarded. So that's why I said you have the non-disclosure, then you have the different types of team and agreements, pre-award or after award. So before award and after award. Okay, so I don't want to belabor that anymore. But I just had to understand when you start and put those appendices in there that you capture everything. Then it's also talking about, whereas each party hereto having to carefully assess the qualifications and interests of other, has concluded that a mutual effort would be advantage. And then they're just adding all the different things in here in that first section. Oh, hold on. It's moving on its own. Let's go back down. Okay, and then this also talks about the prime intends to respond to such projects as either the prime contractor or the subcontractor, and to include subcontractor in its proposal as a subcontractor when in the role of prime contractor. So they're going to put that person in the contract. It is anticipated that the prime and the subcontract may provide to each other certain technical data, information, and know-how relative to the project. So you see why it's important for the confidentiality, because you're going to be providing stuff to other individuals, another company, and you want them to be careful and keep your confidentiality and proprietary, especially when you're in that IT world, sharing your software secrets, doing all those other things is important that you understand. And so that's why I said, you see why it has to be, this general class has to just be a basic overview, but as it becomes more complex, there's going to be more addendums or attachments, if you will, explaining more the proprietary information, because you got to protect yourself. And this is a form of protection. This is a form of protection that you're trying to do to instill, to protect your company. Okay, now we talk about in the prime and subcontractor desire to define their mutual rights and obligations in connection with the efforts to undertake and the response to this. And then they just go on with the other. So remember we were talking about, okay, this agreement is in effect only after this document is executed by the parties. This agreement will be amended and Exhibit A will be attached after a task order / project / contract is identified. So then they're calling this Exhibit A. So then you might have Exhibit A, you might have Exhibit B, Exhibit C. All those things are going to be attached after, but you want to get something in place at the pre, because you want to start making your business decisions off of your teaming agreements. So you already know, okay, I got 3 teaming agreements. So that's 3 different possibilities that I'm gonna have to support these efforts. Can I support them? Do I have the team? So, or am I the one performing the work on one of those opportunities? So then that's going to determine your capacity. Okay, do we have the capacity to go after 3 teaming opportunities and say this one come through in January 2025, but then the next one don't come in back through to January 2026? These are the business decisions you're going to have to make as a CEO. Okay, can we do this? Because then how about both of them come up in January 2025? However, you don't have the staff, the personnel, you haven't had time to vet and bring people on the team because you're a fairly new small business. So these are the things you have to think about. Because once that contract is attached and that task order, if it's an IDIQ, or mass multiple award schedule, then you have, or whatever it is. So that way, say if it's a civilian, then it's just project, or if it's a contract, which is federal. So it depends on whatever type of opportunity it is. And then they said Exhibit A will set forth the scope of work to be performed by the subcontractor on that project. Then that's when you're going to see those additional terms, conditions. Then you may get some amendments, because I've seen this happen as well. The agency will amend the contract. So therefore, the prime contractor is going to have to amend your contract. So be aware of those different things that's going to take place when you're dealing with a teaming agreement. And then once it becomes, it's different ways of doing it. So I don't want to speak on, I'm just going to keep it broad and general because I've seen it so many different ways and I don't want to confuse you. Now, the procurement activities, the prime contractor shall retain exclusive control over all prime proposal activities in response to this project. So the prime is in charge. The prime is in charge. And I've seen subcontractors try to be in charge. No, the prime is in charge. Okay, they are the lead. And so that's why it's important that if you want certain things as a subcontractor, you have to have it in writing in the teaming agreement. And so then remember, as time, okay, so let's move on. Subcontractor on proposal decisions affecting data and material submitted by the contractor. Okay, provided, however, the prime alone shall determine the final form and content of the proposal. So the prime is the final say. So you say the prime asks you to provide a portion of the proposal, right? You have to write a proportion of the proposal, and it says that because you're the subject matter expert in this in acquisition. So you have to write the acquisition portion of the proposal, and say the prime contractor doesn't like it and they send it back, hey, I need you to redo this. Then you need to redo it, because that's who you work for. You work for them, and they control everything. So that's why I said at the beginning of this training session, you have to know what's in your contract. You have to read it. And it's important that you get people that have done this before to, oh, hey, did you think about adding this? Did you think about adding this? It's to protect both parties. It's to keep everyone honest. It's to protect both parties. Okay, so then It also talks about the subcontractor shall participate in and support the prime proposal effort in the area of its responsibility set forth in Exhibit A. So we talked about that. The subcontractor shall furnish personnel. So sometimes subcontractors have to provide personnel. Sometimes they are the personnel and all information necessary, and shall devote best efforts to assist the prime in developing and preparing sections of the prime's proposals, any modifications, and so forth and so on. Subcontractors will provide to the prime in a timely manner. If they ask you for something, be aware of it. Is it 24 hours? Is it in the last 16 hours? Or I apologize. Do you got 48 hours or is it 36 hours to respond to your prime contractor? So those are some of the things you're going to discuss in the teaming agreement as well. Is okay, close of business, the hours of business and so forth and so on. So that, because timely manner to a subcontractor can mean a week later, but to the prime contractor, it could mean 24 to 48 hours, because we were on a BPA call and they wanted a response in 48 hours. So read your teaming agreement to see what is the response, how is the communication, is it uploaded in a portal, is it in an email, and then do that read receipt to make sure that they have received that information. If they have not, then you follow up, close the loop. Many times they shoot and forget it. No, you need to shoot it and validate it, follow up, ensure that it, because you don't want to lose your contract. You didn't won your first contract, you don't want to lose it. So the prime is going to be asking for your technical approach, if you will, your management plan, your schedules, your resumes, all those things that's applicable to them, they're going to ask of you. So that's why it's important to be a subcontractor first before sometimes you become a prime, because then you'll learn how to, you'll start building those artifacts, those different tools in your toolkit. You'll start building them, and then when you become the prime, all you're doing is switching from sub to prime now. So you've got that muscle memory. You know what was required of you as a subcontractor. Now you have the responsibility of the entire operations. Now you're doing the proposal effort. Now you have to bring someone on as a team member and so forth and so on. So that's why it's important to understand all the things that's involved in building a team and agreement. Now, the subcontractor will comply with all applicable requirements of the project, including work-related or other applicable flow down clauses, because the agency is going to put a lot of clauses in there and they will flow down to the subcontractor. And so it's important that you understand what clauses will be flowing down to you, because you are required to adhere to them. Just like all the stuff about the physical security, sensitive when you're emailing, because I know at an organization I went to work for, they require that you use their emails, do not forward anything to your personal emails, and they will block you if you did any of those things. So you got to be aware of the requirements for securities. Will you have to use their laptop, or will you have to install the program on your laptop? All those different things is going to be mentioned in your different when you get the contract too, once it's awarded. So that's why having a class on the teaming, partnering, and subcontracting is important, and really understanding what you're getting yourself into. It's another marriage, and you know how it is. That's why so many small I've seen marriages, they do the prenups, because you coming in with what you have and I'm coming in with what I have, and if you decide to leave, you taking it with you. Well, in this business, they don't play that. If things don't go right, they blaming the prime contractor by the subcontractor. So this is a relationship that you got to not take lightly. You got to really understand it, understand what all the requirements are, make sure everybody is doing their part, because many hands make light work. But if you as a prime contractor doing all the work and your subcontractor is not performing to its part, or vice versa, it's going to make the relationship that much harder. It's going to make it harder for that individual to run their business or to do those things. That's why it's important to understand what you're agreeing to when you deal with a teaming agreement. Now, subcontractor agrees not to participate in any manner and other teaming effects that that are competitive to any specific task order, which is identified and included in Exhibit A, once such task order / project is identified. So you see, they're putting it all in here. You can't be going after all these different other teaming opportunities. You done signed 7 teaming opportunities. Are they the specific same work? I mean, what is it? So that's why I said it's important that you understand what you're getting into, because they will come for you. Because they'll say you was competing against them. They'll say that you used the information from this company to that company. So those conflict of interest, you got to be careful with that. So that's why it's important you understand who your prime contractor is kind of like doing business with. So that way you won't inadvertently get in some kind of situation that you did not foresee. So then you just keep on, everything is identified in there. So that's why I read it, understand it. If you don't understand it, it's a wealth of information. There's the dictionaries out there. There's different websites who talk about the different parts of the different the teaming agreement. And then, like I said, get that subject matter expert to help you, because you don't know what you don't know. So it's important. And as I continue to go, because I don't want to waste more time. I want to make sure we have time left for questions too, because I know you might have some questions about this handout. But I also want to just quickly show you a different type of handout before I finish with this one. I want to show you the difference between a multiple award schedule. So they have a different teaming agreement. Now, this one, you will not be getting this handout because it's the GSAs. You will have to go to that for them, because these are for individuals who have a contract with a GSA schedule. And basically, this agreement is just a template. It's telling you who's going to serve, who's the contract holder, okay, what service do they provide, or manufacturer or supplier, and who is the lead. So you see, there is so many templates out there, but I want you to understand the basis of if you decide to do prime contracting versus sub, or if you decide, okay, I got a GSA schedule now, I'm ready to build my teaming database with my GSA schedule. And because I see a lot of I see a lot of small business who have a GSA schedule and have not earned $1. So you might want to go reach out to some people on the GSA schedule, some small business companies who are winning, and they need that complimentary service that you provide on that GSA schedule, and team with them so you can start, it can open the doors to some opportunities. So it's important to understand the different teaming agreements out there. And then in this teaming agreement, you'll see the same thing is talking about the duration, the date issued, the date, and then they want to know the team lead's contract, your number, and then the members, and so forth and so on. So for those with the GSA schedule, learn more about the CTAs, the contractor teaming agreements, or if you, like I said, if you don't have it, then you have to do it the prime / subcontracting way. That's how you know which one. It has a lot of information out there for you. Who's responsible for the communications? It's talking about everything. So that way you understand there's different rules for different teaming agreements that you choose to use. So that's why I can't always give a blanket explanation to different teaming agreements, because I have to know, okay, so what is the eaches? What is the everything? Are you making 100K in your business? Are you doing this and that? And then you can put the strategy. So just like when I was telling you about the slide before, how we talked about the agency, you've identified the agency. Like DOD, they will not work with small business. They use best in class. So then you need to, when you know that they use best in class contracting vehicles, then you know, I need to get on the GSA schedule. Wait, but before I get on the GSA schedule, have I built relationships with other teaming partners? You got to utilize those different vehicles first before you move into this. And it's very straightforward, and it's going to be customized for every business. And it's very straightforward. Everything is straightforward. But I did not want to fail to mention that before we ran out of time. So you'll have that in the recording for later. So let's get back to what most of our small businesses are going to do the prime / subcontracting, because even the joint venture has a different agreement. It's the joint venture agreement, and that one is completely different. So for this training, let's focus on the subcontracting agreement. Okay, now the subcontractor agrees to take all responsible steps to meet competitive prices derived from pricing discussions between the prime and sub. And so many of my small business say, well, hey, I don't even know how to price. I don't. And that is why I always tell them, take the cost development proposal training. You have to get your price, because how do you know that I'm going to offer my services to the prime? Because your price is always going to be, the prime is going to get the prime rate and the subcontractor is going to get the subcontract rate. It is never what the prime get. It's always something very modest, it's a little bit smaller. So say the prime was making $147 an hour. Well, you're not going to get paid that as the sub. You're going to get paid probably half that, maybe $75 an hour, $65 an hour, or you might get a salary. You don't know. So, but how do you know that $65 an hour is going to sustain my business? You understand what I'm saying? So you have to have had, what's your break even? Okay, what do I need to do to get a profit? How much profit do I have? How much cushion do I have? Okay, how much can I offer my services to this prime contract? And then you have to agree upon it. So that way, okay, I'm getting paid about $3,000 every 2 weeks. That could pay, because I have subcontractors to pay, or $5,000, $10,000. What is it your pay? Because you have people to pay. You still have your G&A, your general, all your different costs and things that you're going to have to deal with. So that's some of the things you need to talk about before you do this, because I've also seen people take a loss because they underbid the prime contractor wanted to give them to them for what, $55, $45 an hour. That won't sustain your business. So then you tell them, no, this is not a good business decision for me, because my business can't sustain that. So those are questions you would ask, because your business won't be able to sustain it. Now, in consideration of the mutual benefits, anticipate from a successful proposal effort in response to the project, and each party should bear witness its own costs. Because remember, you have to be responsible for your own costs, expenses, your risks, your liabilities, everything. That's it. And then they go on a little bit more onto the award of the subcontract. So understanding the award of the subcontract, understanding that during the period of this agreement, a prime contract is awarded to the prime. The prime will enter into good faith negotiations with the subcontractor. For a subcontract within the prime will make every reasonable effort to subcontract to the subcontractor that portion of work set forth in the attached appendix. Exhibit of this agreement. And then said work to be performed by the subcontractor will be in accordance with the schedule and the technical specification, if any, and at a price and terms to be mutually agreed upon between the parties, subject to, stipulations that an agreement be reached within a reasonable period. If agreed that the subcontract terms and conditions will not conflict with government rules, regulations, and applicable law until such time as a contract is fully executed, prime assumes no risk, financial risk. Okay, so just understanding what the teaming agreement is asking, putting together, because once you put together a good one, you normally use that same one over and over again. It just has to be customized for different efforts, for the complexity, the length of contract, the amount, all those. And then sometimes terms and conditions is going to change, because an IT contract is going to have different clauses and provisions and regulations than a janitorial contract. So, because that's professional services contract. And then software is going to have different rules and provisions and clauses. So then that's why I said you might have more addendums, because or exhibits, because Remember, if it's IT, then there's reseller agreements, and software, there's reseller agreements. You wouldn't have that basically in a professional services contract. So understanding the different nuances of each and every requirement is a little bit different. And then the award of the subcontracted subcontract contemplated under this agreement is subject to all of the following conditions. So then they're going to have all of the conditions, okay? Award of prime contract to the prime. Then the exclusion in the prime's contract of subcontract requirements that are substantially similar to those proposed under this agreement. And then you're just going to keep going through reading everything. And I always recommend you get tired, do one section at a time. So do section 1 first, read it, make sure you understand everything, then move to section 2, read it, understand it. You're going to have the one that you write up, you make your notes on. That's the one you're going to use to analyze your team and agreements when you come in. Basically, you're creating your checklist, your compliance requirement to make sure this team and agreement, because you're going to have different agencies sending you different agreements. I mean, different prime contractors sending you different agreements, and you want to basically know what's in there. And then that checklist that you built, and you're going to keep seeing different team and agreements, then you're going to make that massive checklist. So that way, when you're reviewing the team and agreements, you'll see, oh, this clause is missing, or they added this information in here. Oh, I should add this to my checklist. So for future, I'll know that this is basically the information they put in all of their team and agreements most, because they will be customized for each event. So that's why I always tell you, build your processes, build your procedures, and be consistent at it. Be consistently reviewing your team and agreements, consistently building those relationships for the subcontractors, and so forth and so on. And then proprietary information. Now we're in section 4. So you're going to have different sections of the team and agreement. So each one, you want to review it and understand what are they asking about the proprietary information. And then during the term of this agreement, the prime and subcontractors shall exchange such, that proprietary information, that technical data, and other information to the extent such exchange is reasonable, necessary for each to perform its obligation hereunto. So you will be doing a lot of, and then you have to identify, okay, what is the prime contractors, what is the subcontractor? Because I've seen subcontractors that has more proprietary information than the prime contractor. They're only using the prime because they have the past performance or they have a relationship with that agency. But that subcontractor is the one with all the proprietary information. They're the one who has a lot to lose. This is their secret sauce to their small business. So being very cautious of who you enter those relationships with. Are they going to really protect your proprietary information? Because they going to ask for your financials. They're going to want to know what's going on. They're going to ask for confidential things. And then some of the disclosure, which is to the third party, it just may harm you. So reading all these different things in here and understanding what they're asking for is just, you need to know. So let's keep going. All right, so you know about the priority. So you just keep reading everything, and like I said, read each section at a time. But for the sake of time, so I can still give questions time, because I still have to answer questions, I wanted to go through the team and agreement so you can understand how to read the different sections, what sections are asking you, and all of this is under proprietary. So now the terms and the termination. So now you have section 5. This is where they're going to talk about all things about the terms, the termination. If you have to get your contract terminated, everything will be in written consent. Everything is in writing, because you can't just call and say, well, I don't want to do anything. No, it needs to be in writing. Everything that you agree upon needs to be in writing. Then we're going to move over to the section. Let me make sure I'll go into each section so that way we can have everything under the section. And then they're asking for if you subcontractor Sometimes we have subcontractor who has a subcontractor, so they're tier 2. They might want that information as well. Then they're talking about the organizational conflicts. They want to know who you're working with. They want to make sure that if you're working with their competitor, are you divulging information that could be hurtful to their business? So make sure you understand the organizational conflicts. And most times they want an organizational conflict in their proposal. They want you to put a plan in there how you're going to mediate those organizational conflicts. So you need to have that already as a subcontractor and as a prime. How are you going to mitigate the conflicts of interest? How are you going to protect the prime? How are you going to protect yourself? So start thinking about all that stuff, because they're going to ask for it in the proposal response. And say the prime contractor asks, they want to know how you're going to mitigate that risk as the subcontractor, and you're providing a portion of that proposal. How are you going to protect their information, their image, their brand, and all those things? So that, and then the limits of the agreement. So remember, there's a limit. Section 9 is the limits of the agreement. This agreement relates exclusively to the pre-proposal or proposal and resulting contract efforts in support of or required by the subject project and the scope of work defined in the Exhibit A, which will be attached to the teaming agreement after a specific project/task order is defined. In no way does the agreement constitute either an understanding in regard to other projects or business activities or anything else, basically it's telling, or in understanding as to any other procurement unless otherwise specified in writing. Everything is in writing. Everything is in writing. So this only for that one contract award or whatever opportunity you decided to go after. This is, so you will have to do that. So for each and every effort. So that's why I say you'll get used to it. You'll learn what's supposed to be in a contract, what's not supposed to be in a contract, and so forth and so on. And if they put something new in there, okay, this is new. And then you can ask questions in your team meetings with that prime contractor. Hey, or if you're the prime talking to the sub, hey, this is what we're going to put in the contract. So that's the key to that. Now, nothing in this agreement shall be deemed to constitute, create, or give effort to, or otherwise recognize a joint venture. So this prime/team is not a joint venture. This is not a partnership, and not a pooling of arrangement, a formal business entity, or any type of permanent agreement. This is a temporary endeavor. So that's why I said it's temporary. What is it? When it starts? So that's why you need to know the duration. And the employees of one party shall not be deemed employees of the other. So that's important that you address that in that situation as well. And then it just keeps going on with the limitation of liability and so forth and so on. And then all you have to do, and then make sure you put the work products, if any, that be in this section. And it's a lot. So it's a lot when it comes to a teaming agreement, and then basically understanding what each section is talking about. And then you need to understand what rights you have toward the products that you're creating. Are you creating products for that prime? Or if you are creating for them, you need to know that once you create it for them, it's theirs. It's not yours any longer. So that's why it's important that you understand the rules. If they're going to audit your books, you need to know about that. And then once you've signed it, and then you just wait to see if they won the contract. And then the prime submits their information, and then you, as the subcontractor, put your information in there. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about for the the practical exercise, giving you a basic walkthrough of what is all involved, using a short scenario to basically just give you to prime to think about all the things that's involved. What as a subcontractor I need to think about, what as a prime contractor I need to think about, which one applies to me. And then the different types of teaming agreements. There are several. Which one is applicable to me. Stop going after things that's not applicable to you, and then you're discouraged, and then you defeat it, and oh, I don't want to do this anymore. It's about learning the rules of the game and how to play it. And once you've learned those rules, then you'll, as the CEO, will make very good business decisions that's going to really help your business to really grow, scale, and to really, because the goal is to keep this going for years to come and have that continuous revenue and building your business, even if you want to just stay a subcontractor. So I'm going to open up the floor for questions. I always want to make sure I'm very conscious of our small business who are attending these events. And I thank you for attending these events. And I want to make sure we give value. All right, Yasmin, I'm ready for the questions.
Thank you, Akeisha. That was very thorough as usual. Appreciate it. So yes, we have 10 minutes left. If there's anything you'd like Akeisha to go over again, or you have a question that hasn't been answered yet, please post it in the chat. And in the meantime, I'll scroll up and see if I can target. They're asking if they're getting a copy of the teaming template. Yes, you will get a copy of this. I'll be sending this out shortly with the slides and the recording. Somebody asked, can a company reach out to mentors to sign up for a mentor-protégé program, even if it's a new company?
Well, I don't, what benefit? So you saying a new company, you want to mentor protege with the new company who
No, I
have,
think they're saying that they're new as the
oh, okay,
protege.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, good. Okay, so my first question is, if you're reaching out to that mentor, you're very new, what are you going to say to them? What are you going to offer them? You're not offering them certifications. It has to be your core capabilities. So are you offering a service? Are you offering a subject matter expert? Are you doing something that other small business can't do? Have you already built a relationship with them and you know that they will partner with you? I mean, those are some of the questions I would like to know, because that would determine yes or no. Because if you don't know them and they're going to be like, okay, who are you from the next company? And then why should I work with you? I don't have a relationship with you. I've never worked with you before. I don't know if you're coming in here to help me, or are you going to be? So those are some of the things you have to give me more background on, because a new company, but are you a new company and been doing this for 40 years? You know, I'm a subject matter expert at data entry. So that's my jam, or I do Airtable, or I do SharePoint. Give me a little bit more, and then I can really tell you, is it worth? But yes, you're gonna do the mentor protege. But the thing is, have I worked with them before? Because how about I do the mentor protege and I don't like them? You see, and their culture is toxic. They're not training their people. I'm not learning anything from them. I'm just there. I'm just a body. So it won't be beneficial, because remember, like I said, with that mentor protege, you only get it what, once or twice, and that's it. So you want to be careful how you use your once or twice.
Okay, thanks. And we also have a couple of previous recordings on the mentor DoD and SBA mentor protege programs. I posted the links in the chat so you can watch those as well. Next question is, say one company has SDVOSB and the other is an 8A. Can you use both in a teaming agreement, or only the designation of the prime?
Well, it depends on the proposal. So now, was the proposal that the requirement or that opportunity that y'all seen that y'all was going to draft, it was RFP or RFQ, it said, was it a SDVOSB or was it the 8A? Now, if it was full and open competition, then that's something different. That means everybody bidding on it. It doesn't matter your certification, your designation. You know what I'm saying? So if it's not a designation on that requirement, that, because normally you teaming for a reason. So that means you was going either teaming because you want to go after an opportunity, or are you teaming just to pull your capabilities capabilities together so you can go after both the SDBSOB and the dog, so it depends. So you trying to go after AA opportunities and service disabled veteran owned small business opportunities, or are you just trying to go after one? And then that's what'll determine which designation you're going to use. So For instance, let me give you an example. You've seen this opportunity. It's an AA, a requirement. Then we already know who's the prime, the AA company. But say it was a service disabled vet opportunity. Then who is the prime? The service disabled person. Now, remember those percentages. If it's a AA, then you already know we got to do 51% of the work. You already know. If it's a service disabled veteran owned small business, you know you got to do 51% of the work. So it depends on the requirement. It depends on why you're teaming. Is it so you can go after both? Or is it, no, we don't want to go after both. We only want to go after AA. It's all about your strategy and what you plan on doing with it. Okay. I hope that helps.
Yes, he said thank you. That does help.
Okay.
Okay, next question is, I've heard that our company should wait until a certain milestone to apply for 8A and Hub Zone. Is this true? Or should we just apply anyway?
Okay. So let me tell you about that AA. Let's talk about the AA first. AA. One time and that's it. You can only use that program one time and that's it. And I'm gonna tell you this. What we forget is when you get in the program, you only have that certain amount of time. So say I believe it's 9 years now. So the first year you building that time trying to build relationships. You have no relationship. So you didn't waste a whole year because you didn't know who was going to use your AA, who what relationship because you know it takes time to build relationships. You know, we've sent emails to these contracting officers, we sent emails to these program and they don't answer those emails. We both know because they get busy. So now we playing that game of trying to get in a relationship with these people. Okay, now we got to get in there and get that capability brief. Wait a minute, they didn't like me, so I got to come back again, do another capability brief. Oh, okay, wasn't no requirement after. So now you don't waste another year. So that's 2 years. Now that fourth year, they're gonna start weaning you off that contract. You're not gonna be getting all those AAs. You understand? They're gonna start weaning you off. So because they're saying, okay, they got the training wheels on, we ready to pull them training wheels off, and now we're gonna see how they're gonna do. And many small businesses who did not build those relationships prior, they lead the program, not one AA contract. That's it. Your one time is over with. You're not going to be able to use it again. So I'm of the adage is let me build my little network. Let me see who's in it. Make sure not 100% of my opportunities is this one agency. And then you lose them. Then you done lost all your diversify that portfolio. Have you some subcontracting? Have you some prime contracting? Have you some commercial? So that way, if you lose one avenue of income, you still have two. And then have diversified portfolio of agencies because some agencies only take the AAs and then other agents, well, it's not what they only, but they prefer to do AA sole sources. I'm gonna say prefer. So it depends. Remember, it all depends on the strategy and that agency, like DOH, or is it DOJ? It's one of those Department of, I believe it was Department of Human Resources, or it could be DOJ. They won't even take anybody unless you're on a best in class vehicle first, then maybe they'll sole source you an AA. So the point is you don't want to waste your AA. You want to be strategic. This is a business decision that you're making, and you want to be very careful how you make it.
Okay, thanks, Akisha. That seems to be all the questions. So I'd like to thank everybody for participating today. This is the final class of the year for us. I will be sending out the recording and the slides, which will include the template. And I do want to let you know that Akisha's next class is in January, and it is called Secrets of Contracting with the State of Maryland. I've posted the link in the chat, so please do sign up for that. So thanks, everybody. Have a safe and happy holiday, and we will see you very soon.
Happy
Bye-bye.
holidays, everyone. Bye.